Recording. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our 8th Turf Club meeting for the fall of 2020. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Mr. Brett Bentley, who has come to talk to the Turf Club tonight about improving conditions on the golf course, along with opportunities for students at Laurel Valley this summer. So, Brett, thank you for joining us tonight, and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Kyle. I greatly appreciate it. I'm fortunate that to talk to the Penn State Turf Club over the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years. When I was at Pikewood, I'd come up and speak in person. I know it's a different year for everybody, so thanks for having me. You guys are, I have a lot of friends that are from Penn State that are in turf. I'm a Ohio State guy, but you guys have you have a great turf program, you have great professors, and it's a great university. I'm a Ohio State guy, but Penn State, you guys are at a special place, and some of my best friends are Penn State graduates, so I appreciate you having me. But I put together a presentation here. I have an internship presentation after this. But I'll give you a little bit of background. I graduated from Ohio State ATI around 2000, and then I worked at Oakmont Country Club from 2000 to 2009. I was a first assistant during that time during the 2007 U.S. Open. I took a golf course superintendent's job at Pikewood National Golf Club in Morgantown, West Virginia. I was there from about 2009 to 2017. And then I returned to Oakmont when Dave D'Alessandro, I know a lot of you guys know him, took over. I worked for a year and a half under him, kind of taking his position. And then in the fall of 2018, I've been at Laurel Valley for 2 years now. So when I started, you take a new job, you got to put a plan in place. And I'm going to try to give you the agronomic side of building up a golf course and improving conditions. Hopefully you guys can take a couple things, and gals take a couple things from it. So when I got to Laurel Valley, the key is when you take a new job is just observe. When you have rain days, get on your rain gear, go out, see how your course drains. I mean, it's very, very important. And the rest of your career, the greens, as being a turf professional, a golf course, they're the most important asset that you take care of. So when you start a new job, my advice to everyone is really focus on the greens. And as you can see here, there's some pictures of greens. I'm not sure exactly when this was taken, but they're holding water probably too much after a rainstorm. So when I started at Laurel Valley, you'll see the picture of my hand, and you'll see that profile of a green, and you can see there's a lot of layers there, and there's a lot of, I would say, black layer there. So you can see the aerification holes we put in. But one of the main things that you need to do, and it's old school, is let's see how much organic matter we have. There's tests you can do where you can send it out, and then you can figure out how much organic matter do we need to pull out per year. So I like to always, on greens, wherever I've been, I like to pull out more than 20% organic matter over a season. So how do you figure that out? If you look out down at the bottom chart there, it says hollow tines, half inch, 3/8. And then a lot of people are familiar with the pro course. If you go 2x2 centers and half inch tines, that's 4.91%. That's what we're doing today on the course. We're aerifying our greens. So what you try to do is get enough aerifications in to get over the 20% mark. And there's also verticutters, which we have the mataways. You can see the different blade size, 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter. So that is going to enable you to figure out, okay, we need to take out X amount of organic matter per year based on an industry test, whatever they tell you, but you've got to be really, really aggressive with taking organic matter out. Aerification has been key to my success as a superintendent. The top left there, has anyone used the Cormax by chance? AJ, yeah, okay. But that machine, we have it today. We're doing greens. It's like just like a trash bin or a dumpster. It's picking up the cores, and when it goes off the green, you can see the blowers are making everything clean. It makes a really, really, really good hole, and you get a lot of sand back into. But our sales rep that sold us a Core Max, he said what a guy in Pittsburgh put a steel plate in front of their cat. So we have it set up so you can back that Core Max in, pick it up, and it eliminates shoveling for the most part. And then we're picking up the cat, backing up, dumping into a wagon. So technology is definitely great. Sand's really, really important on greens. Top dress as much as you can. And make sure you're putting in the right sand. That's very important where you send tests out. You could be putting in a sand that's too fine, water won't infiltrate it. There's tests for all this stuff. So when I started the greens drain properly, as you can see, we took a pipe. You beat that into different greens, a complete physical analysis. You send it in to a lab to get information on what's underneath. You got to always remember, what is this sand doing? Is it too fine? Is it not? Is the water not going through it? Is there enough pore space? Is there enough water retention? Those are all the answers that you need to know. So this is from when we started in 18 in the fall, and we took them off some of the greens. You can see how long it is. It kind of gives you some information. It'll be like a USGA spec green is usually 12 inches of sand, 4 inches of gravel. It'll tell if it was built correctly. It will analyze the sand to see if you have like a USGA spec sand. And it's gonna the important thing is it's gonna give you an infiltration rate. So an example here on a couple of our greens is we'll look at 16 for example, which we've already done green drainage on this. 3 to 6 inches, infiltration rate 2.7 inches per hour. You get down to 6 to 9, 0.2 inches per hour. So it's not draining well. The top 3 to 6 inches are, but you get deep, it's not letting probably the water work correctly because of sand below. So after you get this information, you try to decipher it. But anytime on a golf course, and I've really done this a lot, get an expert's opinion before you go into a meeting trying to find a solution to an issue you're having. And when we looked at these greens, why are they holding so much water? Dr. Norm Hummel, who he's semi-retired now, he gave his opinion. Tournament Turf Labs, Dr. York gave his opinion, and Sam Farrell gave his opinion on, yes, you should probably do some XGD on these sand-based greens because they're not draining properly. So last fall, we did, I think, 4 or 5 greens, and this is similar to what Oakmont did. Oakmont was obviously push-up greens, but they've been pretty much so much sand's been put on them. They're almost USGA spec to the point over the last 20 years. But this is the 10th green at Laurel Valley, and they just cut the sod. They dig down probably 2 feet. They put in a 2-inch perforated pipe, and we backfill with a sand that's going to drain and be able to hold enough water that the lines aren't going to burn out during the year. But this really changed this green. One of the issues that we had my first year is we didn't have a bad winter, but we had one night where Pittsburgh didn't have snow. We had snow, it melted, and then it went down. There's like 1 or 2 nights in January where it went down below 0, and we really got some just temperature flash from water, and we had some damage coming out of my first winter here. So you always want to make sure your greens are draining. This is number 7, one of the oldest greens on the golf course. It turned around dramatically. Now here's another thing. This is the 10th green as well. I really recommend giving people data. So when you're in a meeting, it's just not one of us saying to the superintendent, hey, we need to do this. Here's the data of why. So Sunseeker app, you guys can get on your phone. You can purchase You can purchase one, or there's a free one, I believe. I purchased the one, but you can go to any day. It kind of shows you 6 a.m. The sun comes up in the east, obviously, and it shows you like you can go from March to June to August, and it's going to show you where the sun is at on your green. So as you can see here, 6 a.m. to 11, there's a bunch of trees that we ended up cutting down that come from the east, and it helped the golf course tremendously. You just got to remember, at the end of the day, air movement, drainage, sunlight, very, very important for growing grass. And you got to create the best growing environment, because you're going to have days where you have so much rain or it's hot, you have a lot against you. You got to make the best growing environment to make yourself successful. And taking down those trees, it wasn't easy because some people like them, but it's the right thing to do for the green and for the club in the future. So when I got here, some of the tees, we had a very wet year, but they had a lot of black layer on them. So here's just another example of black layer from being too wet. The greens were hollowed out, and they just had mix in them like 6 to 8 inches and no drains. Here's off the first tee. You can see how wet that is. We had to rope it off because people are walking through it doing damage. That's not what you want a member or guest to see, even when it's wet. They're just coming to the club the first time they're coming, someone's bringing guests, and you have your first tee roped off. My advice to everyone is you always got to be prepared for extremes. You got to be prepared for extreme wetness and extreme dryness. So you have to have a good irrigation system, and when it's wet, you got to have a good drainage system. So we put drainage on the first tee. We did XGD like we did on the greens. It worked out very well. After we did this, we probably did in-house last year with our crew, I'd say 5 or 6 tees that gave us issues from being too wet, and they had black layer. Makes a huge difference. So Laurel Valley, when I started here, hence the word valley, it is in a valley, and we have everything funnels down to the club. So really wet conditions, the soil's clay, challenging. So when I took the job, one of the main things was drainage. And here you can kind of see here's some different fairways, how wet it is. And I had to go in and kind of make a plan when I started. And I really had to look, I tried to look at colleagues who've dealt with a really wet property. And Wade Hampton, Tom Bailey was the director of grounds at the time, and I knew him through the group of guys I'm in. I think he worked for Paul Lashow when he was at Oak Hill, but they get a ton of rain. They're in a mountain down North Carolina. Wade Hampton is a great course. And he installed this waffle drainage, which I was not really familiar with. I've always used 4-inch perforated pipe with gravel. So this is kind of how I tried to sell it to Laurel Valley. Wade Hampton, they did a couple of holes, and before Tom could go to his club and say the proposed 3 more holes, they said do it right now. That's how big of a difference it had for the club. As you can see, so there's a couple things here. We had Turf Drainage Company of America come out, and they made a master drainage plan on pretty much fairways and rough. The tees we're going to do and the greens we're going to do with XGD. But as you can see, it looks like a fire hose pipe. That's just cloth around it. And then some on the right there, those are baskets, and you put this foam around it. It's always able to take water. It's permeable. Now, if you have a 4-inch piece of perforated pipe, it can only go through the little slashes. So that waffle drainage can take water from all sides. And something else that we had to do on the lower part of the golf course at Laurel Valley, some of the holes are in a floodplain. So we have, I know AJ's familiar with it, the Lower Hannah Creek. Well, we have some spots where we have to drain the golf course, but we need a big pump pit, and that's to the left there, where that thing fills up and it pumps water out into the Lower Hannah Creek to get it out faster. So these are common at spots where if you're at a course that's real flat and you can't get the water out, this is something that we use. It's just basically you run electric to it. It's a real deep pipe and it fills up. The sump kicks on, kicks the water out. As you can see, the pipe infiltration rate with the waffle drainage is 50x of a perforated pipe. And one of the big selling points that Turf Drainage of America has, if you have a perforated pipe, it works well, and we usually put pea gravel on top of it. But the issue with pea gravel is after a couple years, it gets contaminated, and your pipe does not work because dirt starts infiltration in the holes where the gravel has voids. So this with sand, it helps your investment in drainage lasts a lot longer than with perforated pipe. That's a big selling point they have. So the PGA of America is building a new course down in Dallas, Texas right now. And our sales rep for Turf Drainage America is from Houston. So he is on this job. And this is a Gil Hahn's design. The PGA of America is making like 36 holes. But that is all turf drainage right there that everyone can see. They're doing wall-to-wall on fairways, over 50 miles of this stuff. So it's something different, but it works very well. We'd have some days, we didn't get too much rain last year. We had a couple gully washers, but 3 through 6, we did 3 through 6, 16, and 18 last off season. And the biggest difference is when it rains, it's going to be wet, but the next day you can probably go out and mow the fairway. It's pretty impressive stuff. So as you can see, really wet here, and we have clay bunkers that are really, really washed out from a gully washer. I think everyone's threw up bunkers, right, with the sand. So we installed capillary concrete. We're trying to do the whole course in the next 3 to 4 years. But capillary concrete is just a cement mix, and capillary will send in a bonding agent that will go to your local cement place. They'll put it in it, and they have the recipe and everything. You put drainage in the bottom, and then you just put like 2 inches of cement, follow instructions, but it really, really works well. This kind of shows the process. This is number 5 in the right corner. And you can see it's just cement, and you put sand in it. And some of you probably saw, I think I got out on Twitter from some of the guys here at work or from Frontier. We had a wet off season. So the owner of Frontier is always, he's diversified businessman. He does a lot of pipelines for the gas and oil business. And when they get it in spots, he thought of this for a helicopter. They'll be in some really hilly mountains or whatever. And to do the work, they'll have to use helicopters with sand. Now the day we did this, he was just trying to test this out to see if it would be financially smart when we get into these situations where it's so wet you can't get to a bunker. Could you get work done and it would be affordable? So something different, something outside the box, but I give him a lot of credit for thinking about it. I don't know if it's ever been done. That was this past spring. So you can see after a real heavy rain, the bunker on the left is filled. It's really washed out. And on the right, a little bit of washout. You can never stop all the washouts because water is going to find its way in if there's a way for it. But it is a big time difference. You save so much labor, and golfers and members and guests are much happier. And I think too, when you don't have a liner in your bunkers, there's many liners out there. I think why capillary concrete works in Laurel Valley is you can use cement, you can pretty much get it mixed up once they give you the bonding agent. And any type of weather you can put in. It doesn't have to be dry, because usually in Western PA, I've been here 20 some years, we're usually wet. So that's the nice thing about capillary concrete. And I think something else positive about liners is you can see you're going to have soil washing your bunkers, ruin your sand. I think it's going to keep your sand better for a longer period and look sharper. So on fairways, we're trying to improve conditioning, firm the place up. So as you can see, core, deep time, remove thatch. Very, very important, as much as we can. We're out doing it today. As you can see, the bottom left, that loader, that's a picture from yesterday, but that's a sand that we're going to put out on the fairways. We go about 25 to 30 tons per acre. We have about 30 acres of fairway, so that's about 30 truckloads by that big cat loader there. And then that's putting top dressing sand out in the fairways. We do it 2 times a year, just when we aerify, and then we put it down real heavy twice, and it really works well. When I was at Pikewood National, it's out of Morgantown, West Virginia. It was on kind of a mountain course, and it was built like in 2000, 2005. But on a mountain, there's a lot of rock, a lot of clay. I mean, I can remember when we first started trying to aerify fairways because new construction and going through 30 times on a hole. So what we did was we installed drainage. We had a company come in, McDonald's and Son. And then after that, we just went with an aggressive top dressing program and kind of raised up the fairways over time. I mean, you go heavy twice a year, it adds up. It makes a big, big difference. So what's important, wherever you folks end up being a superintendent someday, is you're going to be working with a construction contractor. And it's very, very important to hold contractors up to par, make sure they're building stuff correctly, make sure that you as a superintendent are testing sands, testing gravel. Testing is very, very important. You should do testing 6 months in advance. Be ahead of it, because once you do a construction project, you can see when I started in 18, we rebuilt the 18th hole besides the green. Huge project, but you need to have a reputable contractor who, Frontier Golf Construction, I don't know if you folks are familiar with it, but they've been in that Laurel for 20 years. We have a great working relationship. They do quality work. But anytime you do a construction project, do it right. Put drainage in. Go the extra mile. Test the sand that's going on your green. It really, really matters what's underneath your green. You got to make sure it is really, really important. I cannot stress it enough to do your homework, because once this project's done, it's done. And then you got to live with it the rest of the way out. So it's just very important to do stuff right the first time, if possible, even if it might be a little bit more cost for the club. And then when people get jobs, sometimes you have a contractor come in, you just got to remember, some contractors, when the work's done, they're gone. They're paid, they're done. So hold them accountable. So a recap. Some drainage and air movement, it's the basics, really important. Organic removal, test, manage contractors. That's kind of my talk. And thanks for the opportunity to present. I have an internship spiel I'd like to give everybody, but the best of luck to all your futures, and get out and vote here in a couple weeks. Does anyone have any questions on this talk?
I just had a comment about the using the helicopter to put sand in the bunkers. So how did that end up working out for you guys and everything? I remember Dave mentioning that this summer. He came down with it.
The whole, it's a great concept. It's just the helicopter was just a regular size helicopter, and you could only carry so much sand.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how much was each load?
Yeah, it was pretty much like, I would say it was pretty small, like maybe 1,000 pounds. So you can imagine how many loads were taken out. But if you had a big chopper and you could really haul some sand, it would probably be good in situations where it's so wet that you can't do anything else, but you get to it. But it was definitely outside the box thinking, and I really respect that with people. I think you always got to think outside the box, but it just wouldn't be efficient cost-wise. Anyone else have any more questions?
What kind of bunker sand do you guys go with?
We went with Arms Trucking or Lloyd's Best, the Core Signature, which that's what's a lot of clubs use it. That's what's at Oakmont right now. So that's what we chose. Anyone else?
Brett, super disappointed that you didn't mention your insect management plan there and what makes you so successful.
Hey,
but
is that a fake background in the back you have there? Or is that real?
No, we're in the Highlands of Scotland right now. What's next? What do you have any problem greens left that you feel that need to be addressed in the upcoming year?
We do, and what we're doing is we're actually doing 8 or 9 greens of XGD. So we're going to go on 3-foot centers. A couple of holes, we might be rebuilding the holes in the future. We're going to go with 6-foot. And then I have a tree meeting tomorrow with the club president and the golf pro. So we're going to try to go to a couple greens and get a little bit more sunlight on a couple of them that we're having issues with. But we're just going to stick to our plan, airify aggressively, put a lot of sand on them. After we airify this week, we deep tine, we core to a 2-inch spacing. We'll mat away the greens that have XGD, and then next week we're going to do a drum fill. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. Actually go down a foot. We're going to put it in a real coarse sand so the greens will drain better, but we're just going to really try to focus on organic removal, putting in sand that helps it drain and also holds the water, and then use the XGD to get the water out. So they're definitely getting better. Anyone else before I start the internship program at Laurel Valley? Dr. McGraw, he does an excellent job for us here on his insect management. He comes out and does an excellent job. So thank you. Okay, our internship program. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Laurel Valley, but it's located just outside of Pittsburgh, about an hour. It hosted a 1965 PGA Championship and the 1975 Ryder Cup. Dick Wilson was the original architect, and it was renovated by Arnold Palmer over the years. Just kind of show you some tournaments. But Laurel Valley Golf Club was founded by a group that included the King Arnold Palmer, which I think everyone's familiar with. And he lived 10 miles away at Latrobe, Pennsylvania, where his home course is. But the position will expose interns to proper water management, cultural practices, fertilizer, high-intensity work environment, championship golf conditioning, and I try to teach leadership if that's possible. And at Laurel Valley right now, you get a lot of construction and renovation experience, which is very, very important. There's a rebuilding 18th hole when we started in 2018 and 19, so we did the whole hole, a lot going on the next 5 years. So the club has like a 5-year infrastructure program, drainage on the entire property. You kind of saw another talk, capillary concrete, tree management, XGD on greens. We're going to rebuild several holes. We're going to rebuild a short game facility this off-season, rock renovation, reside intermediates. We built guest house, installing naturalized areas, all this good stuff. So intern benefits, which is important. Fully furnished house, uniforms, golf privileges, educational talks, potential future full-time employment, placement at other top clubs. AJ's online here. We did an internship swap with him at Oakmont. I think he really enjoyed it. And we had a guy from Oakmont come over. It was a success until we ran into problems with the COVID and we couldn't do the other ones. Volunteering opportunities. We had a couple of our guys go to Muirfield last year. And if you are hired, there's $1,000 signing bonus. So that definitely helps. $1,000 is $500 up front once you're hired and $500 at the end of your internship. And I think the most important thing is I've been proven leader and I've had past successful internship programs. Just a little bit about myself. I kind of already told you my work history, so you guys know that. Worked at Oakmont. It's U.S. Open. It's just a great place. Dave's doing an excellent job there. I was at Pikewood National for 8 years. It was my first superintendent job. And it was a newer golf club we went in. And the thing I'm proud of most is when I left Pikewood National with the guys I had, in Golf Digest, it was 25th in conditioning in the United States. So I was very, very proud of that. I went into a tough situation where some dead greens, dead grass, changed the culture, brought in the staff, and we ended up being ranked 40th in the top 100 and 74th in the world at one point, number one in the state of West Virginia. So really proud of the guys that we accomplished what we accomplished at Pikewood. So at Laurel Valley, I started in the fall of 2018, helping lead the club through restoration. My job is to build a team of high character, talented pupils. I want to create an elite work culture, which we're starting on if it takes years. Make Laurel Valley a top condition club, and my main goal is make Laurel Valley a top destination for members to bring their guests. And there's nothing better when I can see a member smile because they bring their guests and they're like, this golf course is in great shape, the greens are good, it's a business, so it's excellent. So my coaching tree, assistants that work for me. When I left Pikewood, my assistant took over. One of my assistants at Pikewood went to the green bar. He rebuilt it during the flood. So I've had a lot of past interns. Some guys are starting to get asterisks where they're becoming superintendents. But you can see there's some great clubs on there. It's all about helping people get where they need to go. So my advice to everybody is, I like the rock. When you walk up to opportunity's door, don't knock on it. Kick the bitch in, smile, and introduce yourself. That's very important. That's what I've always kind of lived my life by. You guys are going to be somewhere. You're going to think your opportunity is never going to come. It's going to come before you know it, and you better be prepared. So you go on these internships, take notes. Don't take anything for granted. Work hard. Have a work ethic. And it's free information. Learn off as many people as you can. Learn off other interns. I learn off interns when they come and work for me. Always learn. And what I like to do is let your work speak for itself. That's very important. You don't need to tell people. They'll tell you if it's good. And never ever rest on your past laurels. It doesn't matter what I've done in the past or any of my staff's done in the past. It matters from this day on. Don't rest on your past laurels. That's how you can get fired and get out of this business quickly. If anyone has any interest, please contact me. I believe I sent an email with my contact information. AJ has my contact information, I believe, and so does Kyle, Dr. McGraw. Feel free to contact me with any questions if you're not interested in Laurel Valley. I'd like to give back to turf students. I was sitting in your shoes 20-some years ago, so I'm starting to get some age on me. How about you, McGraw? Dr. McGraw, how long have you been out?
Your mic was a little scruffy there. Would you say that?
So how long have you been out of school now?
How long have I been out of school?
Yes.
Oh, man. I would have to think. 2009 is when I quit a doctor. Okay. So
it goes quick, guys. But your internship, it's a big choice, and there's a lot of great places out there. Penn State has a great program. Take advantage of your internship. It's very important. Work for someone that's going to invest in you not only during the summer when you're there, but when you're finished, you do a good job for them, they're going to help you to your next step. Your most important job, in my opinion, is when you graduate Penn State with a turf degree, which is a great degree, you guys should be proud of that. Your first job is your most important choice for the rest of your career. And I don't know how to explain that to people enough. When I was younger, I don't think I really understood that, but that's my best advice to people. Make sure you go somewhere. Sometimes it might not be, you might not have a title, you might work on a crew, but you might work for someone that's going to get you to the next level in 5 years. So it's very important to work for someone that's going to invest in you And before you know it, you guys will all be superintendents. It goes fast. Any questions?
I just wanted to, give my 2 cents, talk about it a little bit. I really enjoyed my opportunity at Laurel this past summer. It was awesome. Got to experience a lot, work with a lot of great guys. Just got to show up with a great attitude every day and bust your butt, and great things came of it.
Thanks, AJ. AJ did a great job. We had a challenging year when he come in here with everything that was going on. We were closed down. We didn't open up the golf course for a month late because the construction was late from the bad weather we had and some of the pandemic. So AJ got a ton of experience, kind of thrown in the fire, and he did an excellent job. When you have like 20 loads of sod out there, it's a challenge. But we got it together and we had a great year. So AJ is a big part of that. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Anyone last minute questions for Brett? Alrighty. Well, Brett, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. It was a really good presentation and had a lot of good points there. Thank you for again hopping in to the last minute, but we're glad to have you, and hopefully we'll have a couple of our students join you this summer. Sounds like a very good opportunity.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. You guys get through this year. I know it's crazy with everything that's going on, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and just work hard and pay attention every day, learn. You guys will be great superintendents and gals.
Thank you. Dr. Kaminsky, Dr. McGraw, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
No, great talk, Brett. I got to run, but it's good seeing you again.
Well, nice seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you, Brett.
Alrighty, Brett. Thank you very much, and I will stop the recording right here.